today. Which is Madison Gehring from Kiva, Denver. And her fun fact is that she lived in Bolivia for a couple of years, including the start of COVID. So welcome, Madison.
Awesome. Thank you so much. My name is Madison. My pronouns are she, her. Great to be here. Sorry I couldn't be in person. I am going to be at the Unstoppable event tomorrow, so couldn't stay multiple nights outside of my home. And I have a free ticket if anyone wants to hit me up and wants to come with me. So let me know. I will share my screen really quick. Love the energy in the room. But can you see that?
Got it. Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right, so I'm here representing Prairie Rose Development Corporation in Kiva, Colorado. Our ask today is, what is the best way to get in front of entrepreneurs in Fort Collins who are looking for capital? And then secondly, who can we turn to when a borrower in Northern Colorado is close to not reaching their crowd fundraising goal, which would mean that they wouldn't get any of the funds that they crowd fundraise. So it's really critical to get to that dollar amount. I'll do a brief intro. So Kiva is an international organization founded in 2005. Since then, we've enabled over 2 million lenders to contribute to $1.5 billion to entrepreneurs across 77 countries around the world. So on the right-hand side, you can see a variety of Colorado-based entrepreneurs who have been fundraising, and the lenders are motivated by impact, so they're not looking for an interest, they're just looking to be paid back that principal. Prairie Rose Development Corporation, we're a small nonprofit based in Colorado, and we're the local lender. So Kiva works internationally, we're the on-site local partner who distributes those loans, and we really believe that communities are stronger when small businesses can thrive. Here's our team. Most of you, or some of you may know Mike O'Donnell. He's our executive director. He used to work with Colorado Lending Source for over 20 years. I work in Denver and Northern Colorado, so anybody in Fort Collins, and then my coworker Danny works basically southern half of the state. So Kiva is the first step in the capital ladder for many entrepreneurs because we offer 0% interest loans. So traditional lenders often can't make small loans because it's pretty expensive, so they prefer to make those larger dollar amounts, but then that requires asking for collateral, maybe making sure that somebody has audited business financials, that sort of thing. There are other options on the market, like payday lenders or credit cards. However, the APR can range from 25% to 700%. So we really consider ourselves sort of that first step in an entrepreneur accessing capital so that they can know how that loan process works and then have a better footing to go on to apply for an SBA loan, something like that. Our solution is really providing the missing micro. There's no other loan product out there with 0% interest and no fees. We have the lowest barriers to access. So for example, we're not going to be looking at anybody's credit score. You have a pretty simple application and you can get going as a startup or as an existing business. Our loans range from $1,000 to $15,000, so they are tiny, but you are able to reapply for a Kiva loan if it is a program or product that works for you. And then the loan terms are 12 to 36 months. The process is pretty simple. A borrower would submit an application, which can take about an hour if they already have their business sort of set up. Then it would come to me for a review, and then it goes on to the Kiva HQ review team. So then we get to this step, which is how a borrower receives their money. Because we're not asking for collateral, because we're not doing that part, we want to make sure that entrepreneurs have a support network. So there's a private fundraising section where an entrepreneur is asked to shoulder tap either 5 to 40 people, depending on their existing network size, to say, hey, will you come along with me? Will you lend me $25 to start my campaign? We know solo entrepreneurship is a hard, lonely battle. And so we want to make sure that we are not the only people in their support network, right? Building that social capital a little bit, or making sure that exists in some way. Once they reach that number of private lenders, so if they were expected to talk to 10 people and they got 10 people to lend $25, you automatically jump into the public phase where there's the 2 million lenders on the Kiva platform. And it's here where you have a 97% chance of fully raising those funds. And so what I was talking about with that question is there is the 3% of times when an entrepreneur maybe doesn't raise their full dollar amount, and then similar to other crowd fundraising platforms, they aren't all the money goes back to the lenders and the entrepreneur doesn't receive those funds. So just be thinking about that in the back of your head. Unless you're an agricultural loan, repayments start 1 month after that loan is made. The largest loan repayment size is about $411, trying to keep it manageable. Our system works best when we have strong community supporting entrepreneurs, which I think the ecosystem is really, really strong here in Colorado. Obviously, there's plenty of other lenders. There's people who are training entrepreneurs, who are offering accelerators, that sort of thing. And then there's, the library system where you can get that background research done on your why. And then organizations like you. So we work best when all stakeholders can come together to say, this is a positive environment for an entrepreneur to start and grow from. A few highlights from Fort Collins. Amber, she owns 2 Girls in Broome, and recently she raised $14,500 with 497 lenders. She primarily employs people who maybe were previously incarcerated or are getting over some sort of addiction, or single moms. And she wanted to improve her employee retention offering. So to improve some employee benefits, she applied for this loan and was able to get that fully funded. And if you ever need an Airbnb or a home cleaner, check out 2 Girls in Broome. Susie at the Haven is a startup, and she's opening a wellness and a retail space, so where other small business owners can rent out a certain amount of square foot to sell their products. And I think she's opening in West Fort Collins soon. It's TBD on exactly where that location is yet, but she raised a $4,000 loan with 44 lenders a few months ago. The 2 other ones have been I think some of you know Liz from Open Space Mediation, and then we also have Nick Gold, who opened a game shop actually in Evans, so a little bit farther apart from Fort Collins. That's my contact information, and here are my questions.
All right, thank you, Madison. All right, who would like to get us started today? Best way to get in front of entrepreneurs in Fort Collins who are looking for capital, and who can we turn to when a borrower is close but not quite reaching their fundraising goal.
I think you're already doing this, but partnering with the SBDC and giving presentations there, so they're doing that regular. What's the series they're doing where they have lenders from all these different stages? And I think Mike's been talking at that.
The Show Me the Money panels.
Yeah. So that's really good. And I really liked this time in your presentation, the step graphic you had about where Kiva is relative to SBA. That was really helpful.
Good, okay.
So presenting at things like this, and of course there's other 1 million cups in Colorado. So hope you're on those presentation schedules as well.
Great. Thank you.
Chris.
I'm just wondering trying to get a little clarity on this. I mean, obviously you're different from Kickstarter, that kind of thing, but it's similar in that it's crowdfunding. I'm just wondering what the process is like for a borrower. When you do a Kickstarter, there's a lot of marketing involved that you need to do to get people interested, that sort of thing. What does the process look like with you guys?
Yeah, we understand that entrepreneurs' time is pretty limited, and so we create templates that they can reuse and recycle. So the private stage is really on the responsibility, the onus of the borrower. However, when it gets to the public stage, that's where it's my job to make sure that they're funded, and it's also the platform's job to make sure that they're highlighted. So it is a little work in that private stage. However, if you have your list of people you're reaching out to and you use the LinkedIn template, the Facebook template, that sort of thing, people are usually able to get there.
Thank you.
Yes, can you explain a little bit more about the second ask? I'm trying to figure out what the second ask means.
Yeah, so in the private raise, so for example, in the private raise, let's say with Amber, let's say she was at $11,000 and she hadn't gotten to the full 14.5, and she had 3 days left because it's time limited. So you have 30 days to do that public fundraise. And so I actually think I reached out when I maybe should, and this maybe wasn't the right space to reach out to say, hey, there's an entrepreneur in Fort Collins who's like so close, but not quite there yet. We have 3 days left to make sure she gets to the full 14.5, because if she was approved for the 14.5, if she didn't reach the 14.5, if she only raised 1,000 or 11,000, she wouldn't gotten anything. So I want to prevent somebody from expiring, if you like their loan, not them, their loan expiring. Use of words. Yeah.
Denny?
Hi, I presented with Mike on the last show me.
Oh, great.
Session, so please say hi to him and make sure his tire is all fixed up.
He arrived like 40 minutes before it
Yeah.
ended because of the flat.
I hope he was. I'm glad he was okay. But so I think best kind of a funnel is kind of the people that you have shown on the step slide, like people above you on the steps, because I think those people are constantly getting questions about where can we get funding. So if you have a strong pipeline with them, I think they would be more than happy to refer those people who are asking for money, but the amount or stage is not right for them, and funnel them to you. And in terms of where you can kind of ask for additional money to get to that minimum, I see that Peter just showed up, so platforms like Maine, I
Yeah.
think would be a great place. Another place in terms of pipeline, if you work with like places like Chambers, because they're a group of small business owners, and they might be like willing to say, hey, like I'm willing to put $100 in or $200 in for fellow entrepreneur trying to do something good. So that may be another channel.
Great.
That's about all I can think of, but
Kind of following up with that.
some kind of a platform, or somebody like Maine, which already has chambers in different places signing up, might be a good aggregation point to reach out to people.
Does Larimer or Fort Collins have a Latino Chamber of Commerce, or are they combined?
We do. But those are funded through like a different budget line from city and county, so they don't usually have like extra funding to throw at things like this. They should be more flexible, in my opinion, and have a pool of money that should be able to use in this way. But I think that will be an uphill battle with budgeting and contracting. But another option is for you guys to actually apply for a grant from city and counties, and to say like we get to decide when we can deploy those money. Just give us 10 grand, and that would be the kind of the reserve fuel tank that we get to use, and we'll give you a report on who we used it, on how much, and what happened to the business in return. That might work.
So Madison, I've got a question too on this second piece here. How long do they actually have before they're funded?
So they have 15 days for their private raise and 30 days for the public raise. However, like I've seen it go in 5 total as opposed to that 6 weeks, and I've seen it take the whole time.
Okay, so my piece on that is I think I actually saw your email on the 3 days, because I have been a Kiva lender or my money's still there, I probably need to reinvest it. But I think since you have 30 days, we people are lazy and we wait to the last minute. So if you could send that email a week before, so you've already had 21 days, 20 days, I don't know, 30 minutes, 23 days. Supposed to be good at math, but I just calculate numbers. So you've had 23 days and you can see that they're not there yet in the last week. Send an email at the 1 week mark, send an email at the 3 day mark, and send an email at the 1 day mark.
Okay, more consistent.
Yes, because that gives me the like, oh yeah, I need to do that. Oh yeah, oh shoot, I gotta do that now or it's not gonna happen. Right?
It's like the snooze button on my morning alarm.
Exactly. All right, James on Zoom.
So good old fashioned email actually works. I don't know what you're doing locally. I know Kiva has a national program, but maybe a targeted local list. It's hard to believe for me, but the open rates on email are anywhere from 30 to 50%. And click-through rates can range up to about 10%. So it seems like a cheap and easy way to do it. It's just the list building that's tricky.
Yeah, to that point, you could have like a monthly email of who our local people are that are fundraising, so that when the 7 day comes, I'm not shocked.
Right.
All right, we've got Ben and Bill.
I want to echo Denny's point because it was the same thing that jumped in my head when reading, how do we bridge the gap, or like the people that are higher up on the stair, they have a vested interest in these people getting funded and getting the flywheel going, right? Because ultimately what they want is if they refer them to your platform and they get spun up and they get successful, that when they need to go beyond that 15,000, they're going to go back to the people that cooked them up in the first place. So definitely, I think looking for partnerships or some sort of pipeline that you can get them to help push to you is a good idea. And then as far as the how do we find local people, I think I know you guys you're a 3-person team, right? So your resources are obviously limited, but I'd love to see a monthly event where you just talk about like this microfinancing. Like investing can be this big scary like idea for people, whether it's just general retail investing or whether it's the more like the venture kind of side of things. But like you're talking about very small increments, $25, $100, something where you could highlight, hey, instead of going out to dinner this weekend, help a local business owner get off the ground. Like invest, you're helping yourself and you're helping them by investing in your community. So I think you could do just even a monthly 1 hour program, help people get used to this idea of an opportunity to invest locally.
And to Denny's point last week, these are like our tiny little angel wings.
There you go.
Like budding
Budding
angel
angel
wings.
wings, I like it.
So there are 3 academic places I can think of that are potential. One is the I4E Institute for Entrepreneurship at CSU.
Okay.
Roberts, she teaches, they teach classes for really early stage startups that might be able to use those small quantities of money. And they're not just students, because anyone in the communities can apply to those programs. So that's one area. Another area is I'm thinking of, there's an MBA program at CSU. I think it's an MBA program on sustainability and blah, blah, blah. That's a separate group. And those projects tend to fall in this category. And then a third category, another academic one is UNC. In their entrepreneurship program over there, because
If only we knew somebody at
Can you connect me to that person?
Yes, we can. It is DeLong Ma in person. So
Yes,
Ma,
cookies.
connect, and he brings cookies. And he provides free lunch. You missed last week, so.
Yeah, of course.
Connect.
Right.
Excellent. All right. One last one. All right. So thank you so much, Madison.
I'm not there to shake your hands and get your business cards and your email. So email me and I'll follow up with you.
I will email you.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. Great ideas.
So people in the room, go get your second cup of coffee. We'll get our second presenter ready. I'll yell at you when it's time to come back, because I really enjoy yelling and glad not to have my.
No, I need to be good.
This is the difference.
Yeah.
Thought you were going.
I missed.
You got it?
You lied over here from the airport?
Yeah, there was some. And then I did, yeah, no, I know, I did that, because I was like, wait, I don't know. I don't know their- And I was like, oh, this is why I write things. I introduced myself all the time, which I usually forget, and then I forgot to introduce everybody else. So shy.
Howdy. How you doing?
You win some, you lose.
Excellent. Great to see you.
Like, I put something else on there.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's not ours. We missed it. As we were driving down, she says.
One thing that she did.
Where I just write.
Well, she said.
I can't wait.
Oh, it's-
And it's not so much.
Exactly. Plus, we got the FAC
Gosh.
on Friday.
See, I'm not the only one.
Finally get the mouth going. Hurry up. Cause you get them for the contract.
Yes.
So there's a.
I don't know if you know. It's really just. There's like real people write down like.
Wow.
No, it's. How are you finding that?
Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon club.
Yeah.
I used to go to a big contract on a
And I
Colorado
wrote that,
contract.
here's what it is.
Wednesday.
Friday.
Okay.
They cut that down.
I've been studying till then.
Probably no
Oh, they rattle back.
Had it. Anyway, good to meet you.
It was our last one. Hard. So it was,
I think you tell
A lot of
somebody.
those.
I got a little.
Yeah, I connected with,
We'll see.
I
did. Okay, so I got an email from it.
It's in the email. My harassment.
I'm sure the copy is so good. It has like pretty.
well, that's, Davey does it, so it's a different copy.
And so I'm like, oh, you already do it. Yeah.
is this your first time here?
Another thing I wanted to, I was trying to get on the calendar, I don't know. if
I missed the meeting, I know the title.
I'm excited.
Right now, they're losing here. Like,
Is this locally? Is it?
But it wasn't good.
It's kind of a lot of things. All right. And that is your seat. We are ready to rock and roll.
New diagnosis.
If you live in Fort Collins.
Quick medical and financial journey.
Ian, do not engage Jenny in conversation. It's time to get to your seat.
Good.
She always makes me get her coffee until I sit down.
I mean, I sort of have Pittsburgh well.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Well, you presented it, Boulder. No, in, Wheeling.
All right, we're gonna get started. We are, we're gonna do it. That's right. See, this is why I don't like having a microphone, because I get to yell. Like takes out my
Doesn't
weak,
need a
I take out my weak aggressions.
Here.
Oh, great, getting it back to you. All right, so next up we have Ken Willingham of Humus Pack. That is not hummus. Hummus has 2 M's, so we're not talking about the dip here. This is Humus Pack. And Ken's fun fact is that after a night of drinking, he was still up at 7 o'clock in the morning, as people tend to be after a night of drinking. And thankfully, somebody kicked him into the doorway because the running of the bulls was about to start. The only thing is that they shoved him right back out the doorway once the bulls were coming. So he ran.
Yeah, in Pamplona, yeah. That's a bunch of bull.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I did.
He's here to tell about it.
So
fell
no,
asleep
no
and missed
boarding.
the running of the bulls.
It's in the morning.
And then
Oh.
had a train ticket, had to go back to see it. And that's like second time we didn't go out.
So it's for a week, right? It's every morning. And then I went to Paris for Bastille Day, which just follows that sort of 1st July week. Anyway, firstly, thank you. Andriana, Leandra, sorry, and Jane. Thank you both. Sorry, Leandra.
That's okay. I was the
Okay,
only-
and I'm gonna speak my request to everybody. So
I'm going to go through sort of what my company is starting. And my ask is sort of the other side of the window to what Madison was asking. And that is, how do I find funding? And where do I go? And Danny, hey, Danny knows me, and Bill. So I'm reaching out to different people, but entrepreneurship is new to me. And this is an exciting opportunity, hoping to find partners that can help me get to the next step. So Humus Pack, so our mission is to remove single-use plastic from packaging. So we foresee a future where our kids don't have to deal with the waste after you order, I don't know, a hairspray, all that plastic that protects that hairspray in transit. We don't like that stuff. So, stuff works. No, this is wrong. Hang on one second. Oh, I see what happened. Okay, hang on one second. I started on the wrong slide. Here we go. Can I go back?
Any presentation with a headshot changes.
Did I miss something?
Might have left present mode.
Yeah, I charge by the minute, you know.
That was by the second.
This one. I started.
Well, I
so-
stopped the timer, James, so I hope you're keeping track
Thank
on
you.
your own.
All right, let's try again.
Do over.
There we go. So does any of this look familiar to you? Okay, so just so you know, the packaging that you're looking at has a functional life of 9 days. So between when it's put in a box and when you throw it in the trash, average globally is 9 days. The means is 5 days. So the average is thrown out by people who work in B2Bs, set it on a shelf. This is my house between Thanksgiving and Christmas last year. So my kids hated it, but I saved everything. All right. This plastic lasts 450 years before it even begins to degrade in any environment. Okay, so the plastic pandemic, as we're calling it, and you're familiar with, is made up of millions of tons of plastic waste. Packaging, if you're not aware, makes up 45% of single-use plastic waste. Okay, recycling does not work. So the US system of recycling is called single source, which means you put it in one bin and then it goes downstream and somebody sorts it out. Okay, it doesn't work. And if you've been to a recycling plant, you know it doesn't work. HDPE, like even the bottle caps have to be separated from the bottles that you throw away because one is high density, one is low density. So they don't recycle together. It does not function. A current industry that makes that plastic packaging is not set up to run biopolymers or compostable material, which you'll find is the solution that I'll describe here. This is a video of how you make an inflated air pillow. You have something that's about the size of a bread box. You put a roll of film on it, you hit a little button and it inflates. That is how all of it works in every industry, in every pick, pack, and ship store, whether it be Amazon or somebody out of their garage on Etsy. You put it in, you wrap it up, and off it goes. Okay. So our model is that I sell this sprout, this machine, and the film. And think of the razor blade. So I don't make a lot of money on the razor, the machine, but that razor blade continually recurs, and that revenue recurs. I make air pillows, those are the ones up top, and I make bubble wrap. It's the stuff that you popped as a kid. All of it is 100% compostable. This is different ways to wrap it up. Okay, this is the material at start in the lab. And by the end over here, at 24 weeks, it has 0 biomass. So in a recycled environment, whether you put it in a black can and it goes to the dump, or whether you put it in a compost bin in your backyard, in 24 weeks, it's gone. Gone, okay, versus 450 years. Okay, this is the size of the market. So most people don't think about protective packaging, right? Everyone gets it. Everyone throws it away. Everyone uses it. It's a $34 billion industry. As of 2020, And that's a Fredonia report. So that's sort of a understood market. These are the different applications. My product will appeal to everything in green, not these big, heavy corner boards and stuff of that such. We have a serviceable market of 6.4 billion and early evangelists, 1.4 billion. So you'll see how we're going to approach the market. That 2020 number is sort of pre-COVID data. So COVID did something interesting to this industry. It brought 2030 numbers to 2020, 21. We blew out of capacity in weeks, meaning there was more demand than capacity. The industry raised prices 7 times in 1 year. In what was normally once every 18 months, 2 years, we did it 7 times in 1 year, and we still couldn't get demand in. So we started increasing minimums. People had to order a whole truckload of material at a time. We had more customers than we knew what to do with. So we just started cutting them off. Saying, go to Home Depot and buy your bubble. Sorry, we can't make enough for you. The other side of this is, yes.
That's 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry, is green consumerism. So the marketplace, ESG, if you're familiar with it, sort of regulation is coming to push away from single-use plastic. California is going to be done with it by 2030. This is the market. This is us. We're not really there yet, but we're going to be. So this is a digital side, the x-axis, and y is sort of the compostability of material. Most of this is driven by distributors. So they sit below that sort of go-to-market line or to the left of it. This is our phase plan of expansion. So we start with Etsy, Patagonia, REI, move all the way to the left. This is our products as we move to the right there. Speed it up a little. So this is the market customers, the number of businesses, those Etsy's at the bottom here. There's millions of them, but they don't take a lot of volume. So if you look over to the right, that's how much volume per machine they take on average. And as you move up the tiers, you get fewer customers, but they take more volume, okay? We're starting at the bottom, moving up so that we can work out supply chain issues, sort of work our way up to the top. This is the team, this is me, the president. My co-CEO is Shifang Wang. All 4 of us met at, you'll see FP International. This is a packaging company. So we made plastic. I've been making plastic since 2008, packaging. So it's the team. This is our innovation. So we have, my question I always hear is patents, patents, patents. What's your IP? So we do have patent pending on bubble that I showed you, the air pillows that I showed you, and mailers that I didn't show you. So those are all patents of an application of biopolymers in that product category. Okay? And that's it. All right.
Right before that.
I knew it. I was linked to you. Okay, so that's us.
So remind me of your ask again.
So my ask is $2 million. Okay, so maybe a little bit above Kiva. I don't know, Madison. Did she go away? How deep her pockets are. But that's our ask. And the reason the ask is because making that material requires a capital front. You have to convert those air pillows. Now, I've been doing that as I was the vice president of operations for the 2nd largest company in the industry globally. So I'm very familiar with every step in evolution of manufacturing material, distributing material, developing it, customer service, everything in between. And it's a bit of a capital heavy front end. Got to make the machines that convert the film into those patterns, those air pillows. So, yes.
I'm long time spent in the paperboard industry, so I know I know packaging and paperboard. And
with like Georgia Pacific or
Sunoco, IP, a bunch of other
I'm familiar with
companies.
Sunoco.
Yeah, or international paper. But anyway, but you answered one of my questions, which was what's the unique special sauce, right? So you have air on the second to last slide. I saw non-air permeable, right?
Correct.
So that is what you're differentiating yourself from the rest of the market that's already doing this, because a lot of people are trying to do the green thing, but
right. So biopolymers are naturally permeable. They're porous.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why you see them at Trader Joe's where you put produce in, or you get poop bags now that are compostable, which is great. You should have compostable poop bags. But I've got a material that is home compostable certified by TUV and holds air. That is my secret sauce.
I want to see that more predominantly highlighted in your presentation, because that is something that really tells me as an investor, like this is something, right? This is a tech, this is something that sets you apart from the others. The other big elephant in the room for me is where's your cost parity analysis? Because that's when you get into packaging, like it's all about margins, right? Like people are trying to shave it as much as possible. How does yours compare to the available solution on the market? Because that is going to be a big determining factor of whether or not what your adoption rate is going to look like.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I have an answer, but I probably need, the feedback is to have it more articulated in the presentation.
Sure.
But you can give it.
So the feedback is biopolymers are 3 to 4 times more expensive than polys. Poly right now is actually dropped. Now it's going back up. It was around 50 cents a pound. But I am cutting out distributors, which take 30 to 40 points. And so I'm going straight direct to customers. That's why I had the competitor slide in that x-axis. And that's where I'm going to make it. So the customer in the end will see a 10% marginal increase in costs.
So my question on that slide was, you were saying that you're going to the Etsy, eBay,
Correct.
and like, I'm like, yes, 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 I'm so excited about
Yeah.
this. And then if I'm thinking, oh, but if I'm the Etsy person trying to ship it, how much more is it gonna cost me than to just go with the cheap plastic?
So if you go to, so is what I did was I reached out to Etsy, they're in New York, and I told them what I was doing. And they were pumped. They were like, oh, that's a great idea. We would love for our community to use compostable protected packaging when they ship. That would be great. And if they use you, we'll put a little star on their Etsy site so that if all else is equal, people might tend to use them. And I said, great, can you send me a list of your top 100 sellers? And they did. And it was great. And I was surprised, to be quite honest. I've been in this industry. I've installed, Walmarts and Amazon locations, and I've seen large and small distribution centers. The volume that some of these Etsy folks were doing was baffling. Wow, this isn't just out of someone's garage. This is like someone renting a real space and has real chops. So out of those 100, I reached out to all of them and said, here's what I'm doing. What do you think? 40 of them came back and filled out this huge questionnaire form and said, we would love to work with you, to the point where they filled out this huge questionnaire form. So that's an excitement level. And most of them, 32 of them, are buying their material from retail. So I can almost meet those prices, because when you go to Lowe's, I used to sell the bubble to Lowe's and to Staples. And through a distributor, it gets marked up, and then they double it. So I'm almost meeting their price.
We got James online here.
Hi, James.
Hello. As painful a process as it is, with your goal to be getting to investors, I think the pitch visually works and the information's there, but you kind of need to go to pitch boot camp and just hear a painful amount of input and be careful of mentor whiplash. But I just, looking through this, I felt like you could probably cut about 50% out of that presentation and move it much faster, and that will hold more attention.
Okay. Did you have a percent you didn't like?
Well, no,
like a scalpel instead of a hatchet sort of thing?
it's a scalpel. Like you told us a lot about your experience, but you told us after the presentation, and that and that needs to move in there. And there were things like somebody mentioned earlier, your cost analysis, that's got to be there. So you get the first 3 slides to catch their attention, and everything after that is just hitting the highlights. You don't have to tell them everything. You just have to tell them enough. You got to win the nomination before you win the election.
All right. I like that. It's timely. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I realized I didn't do introductions, and I don't you've been here before, but I don't know either of your names. I apologize. Introduce yourself.
My name's Dustin. I just moved to Fort Collins.
Nice.
He doesn't.
This is maybe a more targeted pitch or like something I guess you could add in. I was a little confused. You mentioned that you make money off the blades that go in the machine at the beginning.
Yeah, no, so the analogy is razor
Right.
blade model. Or a printer, like you buy a
Yeah.
printer from Dell. The printer, Dell doesn't make a lot of money on the printer. They make a
Right.
lot of money on the ink.
Right.
So I'm not making a lot of money on that little inflator that you saw in the video. The film that goes on it, I'm making 60 points on.
Okay, gotcha. So I thought you were the blade that cuts the film.
Totally understood.
That's what I got from the pitch. And then at the end, I got it because then you kept talking about it. I was like, oh, no, the film is like the important
Right,
stuff.
right. So they call it a razor blade model. That's sort of people
Right.
liken it to. But I
Right.
think I could do a better job of not confusing.
Yeah. Other than that, though, like super bought in. Like if I had money, I would invest.
I know, put it on Kiva. I got 25 bucks. It might take a while to get to 2 million.
I was wondering if those 32 Etsy sellers ended up adopting the product. I don't think you got to that.
Yeah, so I have just been communicating with those 40. The 32 were the ones that are going through the retails. Others are like, one of them said they save all of their packaging, do what they can with newspapers. But yeah, so I haven't been able to launch. So all there are now is on sort of a mailing list for me, and every month I let them know where I'm at. I've made bubble material. So I have bubble, it's right there on top. That is the first global ever in the world, home compostable certified bubble is right there. So by TUV is an international agency that regulates compostable standards. They're out of Austria, so they will absolutely.
My question was similar or related to Dustin's, I think, just the big picture. So, and the $2 million, I mean, so there's the plastic rolls of stuff, and that's what you have to make.
Correct.
And I think your investment is the machines to make that.
You have to convert that.
And you have these other machines.
Correct.
So that's
two
the
pieces.
confusion. You need to say, hey, there's a big machine that makes this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the inflator machines. And this is, so it's just a little bit of how you tell the story.
Okay.
The process slide.
The process wise, kind of a process flow or
What you'll use the money for.
Yeah.
Speaking of those machines, so can I use a different kind of one of those little machines, the ones that people use today? Because you said they all
Yes.
use it.
Yeah, there's nothing, they're all
I don't have to
2-inch
buy
cores.
yours. I don't have to buy yours.
Correct.
So that-
Correct.
to me,
There's
that-
a couple of them. So I made the little machines that are in the back of every UPS store. Go in the back UPS store, they call it mini packer.
Yeah, so you can skip all that. So don't, just be in the business of making bubble wrap. Don't be in the business of making silly machines because someone else is already making them twice as cheap.
I'm buying those machines and just pushing it along, basically.
If you need to, but if they're already doing that, then just use the existing machines they have.
Yeah, and you can buy them on Uline.
And then the other question I have for you is, why do you need to buy your own machine to make bubble wrap? Can't you just contract with someone who makes bubble wrap and just use your resin?
So yes and no. So the air pillows, which is the real hero product here, right? The bubble wrap is sort of a marginal product. Your margins on it are more narrow. But on the air pillows, converting those is a very industry specific machine. And I can't ask my competitors to lend me line time. I've talked to them. They all know what I'm doing, but they're not willing to lend me line time. Yeah, it's sort of I'm their competition. essentially.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And a lot of it is inline. So where they blow the film with plastic, they convert it inline. So it's all done in one step. Some of them have offline, what we call offline converting, which is what I would be doing.
So where are you now? Like, does anybody have this? Does anybody have your thing?
I have a ton of it at my house. But no,
But the Etsy people aren't using
not
it
yet.
You need the 2 million
I
to get it into people's hands.
Correct.
To actually make.
Right. I could get a lot of
mass
traction with half of that.
Okay.
But then I'd be looking for money again. So 2 million allows me to focus on like launch and delivery.
Denny, do you really have your hand up? Okay. There's people's hands that have been up
Anytime
the
it
whole
goes up
time.
to the corner,
I know,
it's
I don't know what's
true,
going, I
but
know
all the
that's,
other
yeah,
down on
the
the bottom,
weirdness.
that's
Okay,
glitch.
Denny. Oh,
Yeah.
and Denny, you gotta make it short because I got so interested in this that I lost track of time, so make it quick.
20 seconds.
Yeah, I know this is kind of tough crowd because I know you have all the cogs and financial performance and everything else because I was there, watched you make it. So, but I know this venue is not investor venue, so I know that's the different. You have to cut a lot of things. So your story was just disjointed here. But I think some of the points are right. I think your Etsy survey you did, that probably should be a slide because that's a traction and that's a huge validation of what you're doing. So you might want to think about creating a slide on that Etsy response rate and the interest level.
Okay, thank you, Tenny.
All right, you're gonna have to take it offline. I know
It's so fast. It's so fast.
But I'm already late. I'm already late.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop
Okay,
share.
so thank you so much.
Sure.
No, I got so into it too, Chris. Like this just lit my heart up, but we only have 6 minutes and I usually stop us at 10. So,
So just hope nobody's winning.
yes, if nobody has any wins, then you can ask for a question, but we want wins. So does anybody have a win that they want to share? A resource that we need to know about or who needs help? It's a lot.
We had one for Ivan last week, 1 million cups at UNC.
Thank you, everyone. Have some cookies.
Yes, cookies to celebrate the free lunch that we got last week. I love it. Yes, it was a great event. Peter.
I missed the part where we talked about events, but does everyone know about?
I got you.
You already did?
I
Okay,
got
thank you. Make sure you're there Friday.
I would like you to know that we started.
Beer's included, but you have to pay for it.
That's what we.
We started at 9:40 because you and Beth weren't here, and so I just didn't pay attention to what time it was. I was like, we can't start yet.
I had to
We're
drop
late.
her off at the airport, so.
Yeah. So, all right, other wins, other resources. Yes.
I just got a signature for my first paid pilot for my software. I make software for the construction industry. So that was a big win of the week for me.
Introductions at the beginning. Could you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure. My name's Dustin. I went to CU and then I just moved up here to Fort Collins. My company makes software for the construction industry and more specifically crane companies to streamline their logistics and planning when it comes to deploying a crane on a job site. There's a lot of paperwork in there. It's very pencil and paper right now. So yeah.
Excellent. Since we have extra time, would you like to introduce yourself? Since I forgot at the beginning.
I'm Janessa Montoya, with Forever Employers to help businesses with their employee benefits, merchant processing, HR, and payroll.
You're gonna introduce yourself. You've been here before, but it's been a
Yeah,
while.
I've been here before. So I'm not a direct entrepreneur, but I work for an entrepreneur and a two-person business. We do marketing, digital marketing. I do the creative side. So I work on ads for small businesses. I do email campaigns, things like that. And then my boss, Matt, does analytical side. So he does all the data-driven stuff.
And what's your company name?
Prospect Future.
And you're in Fort Collins? Or?
Yep. We both work remote, but we're both local. So, yeah.
So now we've done introductions at the end. Any other wins? Any other resources? Jen, you have a big win.
Yeah. Good for your
Oh,
award.
it's not even that.
Oh,
I have
you
to
haven't
tell
done
you something else.
Oh, let's hear
It's
it.
because of Florida. So, hi, I'm Jenny. I'm just telling the people that I don't know. I do business writing training at companies around the country. And I was at a conference last week because I won a big award for excellence in communication consulting. Because of that award, I got an email yesterday from the third most important academic publisher asking me if I was interested in writing a book. And I got the email and was like, oh my gosh, that's a dream come true.
Well, they're
It
reaching out
has
to
to
you.
be
Yeah.
true. You know, like somebody published, please. But
Yeah.
like, you want me?
I know.
Yeah, that's
Very
super
nice.
exciting.
I haven't written the back.
Do
You
that.
say no?
Do-
You say no.
Tell them you'll think
Yeah,
about it.
Right,
thanks
right.
for asking. We're really busy right now.
But it's because of the presentation.
Yeah.
Nice job.
So,
That's awesome.
Anybody else need some help? A resource that we need to know about.
We got presentations open for November, so get on the schedule. October is filled up, but November, starting on the 2nd. And then we'll, of course, take a break for Thanksgiving, but reach out to Natalie.
Yeah, I'm here, so anybody who's interested, you see how you have my email right there, so just reach out.
I always like to be one of the Prices Right girls.
I'm occasionally a ghost, but I show up sometimes.
We appreciate what you do, Natalie. You're awesome.
Yes, thank you, Natalie, because we would not have anybody to listen to but me without Natalie.
I've got a win, and it's kind of a win for James too. He was at a couple of events over the past couple of weeks, and he served isolation coffee to people coming to learn about his app. So hopefully that got him some traction, and you do.
Some people are like, this is delicious coffee.
Yeah.
Where did you get it?
Yeah.
Did that happen, James?
There was one comment where they said, I usually drink my coffee with creamer, but this is delicious. And then they spent like, most of the time trying to move me out of the way so that they could go and get their subscription in isolation. So that was really terrific for them.
Thanks.
But yeah, there was lots of great conversations at both events.
Well, that's a win too for you. I mean, you could have shared that, James.
Well, I was gonna talk about it last week and you looked at me and then you went away from me. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, like if I didn't see it, you don't get your hand back up there. It's on to the next person. All right, well, I want to make sure we end on time. So thank you so much for coming. We'll be back here next week, same time, same place.
So you can order this isolation coffee online.